Aubrey O'Day is going to be a witness testifying against Diddy.
Working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect. Why are you having me here?
I don't have to have you here. That's one thing that we can make clear. That's one thing we can make clear.
So $48 million somebody made on me.
Working for Diddy.
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects.
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that.
What happened to Diddy Kane? Why did the band break up?
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me, not talent-wise, but in other areas. At the very end, he fired me.
Welcome back. Let's spill the tea on today's biggest celebrity stories. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to get your daily dose of scandal and glamour. Why did Aubrey O'Day really break her silence? What pushed her to risk everything by testifying against Diddy? Her cryptic tweets and sudden touchdown in NYC ain't just random. This might be the move that flips the whole case. It all started when Aubrey lit up her timeline with one loaded tweet, just days before she popped up in New York. The tweet had fans losing it. "You are standing at the edge of the season that will demand your truth in full voice. What you've hidden, denied, or feared will no longer fit the shape of who you are becoming." People instantly clocked it as a signal. Aubrey wasn't just tweeting fluff. She was gearing up to drop truth bombs that could shake the courtroom walls. But that wasn't the end. She added, "Doors that once ignored you will now open. Not because you knock louder, but because you carry the authority of alignment." Chills, right? That message felt like a warning, like she knew her moment was coming, and she was walking into it with power. Now that she's landed in New York at the exact same time Diddy's trial is heating up, fans are connecting the dots, fast, and they all lead to one thing. Aubrey's about to spill it. Let's not forget, she's got history with Diddy. Back when Diddy Kane was under his label, Aubrey was right in the middle of it all. This wasn't just a job. She's already spoken up before about how controlling he was behind the scenes. But this time, she might just be ready to say it all, in court. Aubrey didn't just hint at drama, she lived through it. She described Diddy's management as cold-blooded, harsh, and straight-up toxic. She claimed it crushed creativity and personal freedom like it was part of the contract. And if anyone's got first-hand knowledge of how Diddy moves behind the scenes, it's her. What makes it all even wilder? The timing. Aubrey pulled up to NYC right as Diddy's trial kicked off. And that was no accident. The second folks clocked her presence, social media exploded. Everybody started asking, is she testifying? What kind of dirt is she about to drop? It didn't take long before whispers turned into full-on theories, especially when her name started getting linked to the allegations. Remember, Aubrey wasn't just another artist on his roster. She was right there, working and dealing with him day in, day out. That puts her in prime position to back up the claims other women are making, especially the chilling accusations tied to Cassie Ventura. For years, people have said Diddy controlled the narrative, using power to keep folks quiet. But Aubrey? She ain't playing that game. So many of his former employees, collaborators, even friends have talked about getting shut down or blackballed. But Aubrey's not backing down. Whether she's making noise with her cryptic tweets or showing up low-key in court, she's shifting the entire vibe around this trial. Her moves already got people talking different. The silence is breaking. The courtroom is heating up. And Aubrey? She might just be the one to light the match. Aubrey stepping up and pushing back against Diddy's alleged control? That's not just bold, it's straight up historic. She's setting a defiant tone that might open the floodgates for others who've been holding back. But here's the real question. What is she still hiding? That might be the most chilling part of all this. Her cryptic post wasn't just poetic, it was a warning shot. She's hinting that she's got way more to say. And in a world where silence was the rule, Aubrey's about to rewrite the playbook. Let's be real. Diddy's world has always been wrapped in secrecy. If even half of what's been whispered is true, then Aubrey's testimony could be packed with pure dynamite. What did she really witness behind those locked studio doors? Was she there when things went down? Racketeering, forced deals, abuse? The case documents are stacked, but her story might be the one that cracks it wide open. The thought of her taking the stand got people on edge. This ain't just another celeb scandal. It feels bigger. Her courtroom appearance ain't just legal, it's symbolic as hell. It screams, "We're done staying quiet." And this ain't just about her anymore. Aubrey's voice is turning into something bigger, a loudspeaker for everybody who felt trapped in that system. Cassie's claims may have sparked it, but now the fire's spreading. This trial is morphing into a full-blown expose on how deep the rot runs in the entertainment game. With Aubrey leading the charge, this trial is catching fire fast. Her stepping into the spotlight ain't just some celebrity move. It feels like a full-on shift in power. But guess what? She's not doing this solo. Another heavy hitter just stepped into the ring, Dawn Richard. And her testimony? It could blow this whole case wide open. Dawn's about to take the stand, and her role might be the most explosive yet. As the lawsuits keep stacking and the accusations against Diddy get darker, her voice adds serious weight. This isn't just another former collaborator airing grievances. Dawn was in it, deep inside the machine. Her lawsuit already dropped bombshells about control, violence, and straight-up exploitation, and it hit hard. But here's where things get crazy. Dawn claims she saw Diddy put hands on Cassie with her own eyes. We're not talking whispers or secondhand tea. This is direct, real-time witnessing. She says she watched the abuse happen multiple times, and that part alone, that could change everything. Why does this matter? Because Cassie's been telling her story, but now she's got backup. Dawn's first-hand account lines up with Cassie's claims, and that type of courtroom confirmation is deadly serious. This ain't just emotional support, it's legal reinforcement. And the timing couldn't be worse for Diddy. What we're watching isn't just a trial anymore, it's the unraveling of a legacy. Aubrey lit the fuse, but Dawn might just be the one to set off the full-blown detonation. Dawn. Richard didn't just file a lawsuit, she laid out a nightmare. Her claims paint Diddy's world like a twisted prison, not an entertainment empire. She said she was forced into brutal 36 to 48-hour work sessions. No breaks, no food, no sleep. And this wasn't some rare thing. This was the norm. She's not talking about tough love or creative hustle. Dawn says Diddy ran his teams into the ground with non-stop pressure and zero care. And the worst part? She ain't the only one. She claims that even the women of Danity Kane were dragged through the same hell, constantly belittled, broken down, and mentally shattered by Diddy's nasty, degrading behavior. Let that sink in. This ain't just about a toxic workplace. Dawn's describing something that sounds a whole lot like forced labor. And once you hear that, you can't help but ask, what else has been hidden behind those studio walls? Her stepping up in this trial? That takes serious guts. Going up against someone like Diddy, who's filthy rich, well-connected, and ruthless, ain't for the faint of heart. But Dawn's not just doing this for headlines. You can feel this is personal. She's been carrying these scars for years, and now she wants the world to know what really went down. For her, this trial isn't just legal. It's a shot at freedom, a chance to finally say it without being shut down, threatened, or erased. This time, the truth's coming out, and Dawn's not holding back. The risks Dawn Richard is facing, they're not just theoretical, they're dead serious. But she's still stepping forward, and her words might end up being the key to cracking this whole forced labor angle wide open. Her brutal account of life under Diddy lines up perfectly with what others have already said, and together, it paints a picture of straight-up control, manipulation, and exploitation. This ain't just about Diddy acting wild, it's about an entire system that allegedly let him run unchecked for years, and the prosecution, they're locked in on that pattern. They're using every detail from Dawn's story to build a case that shows this wasn't random, this was deliberate. If they can connect those dots clearly, that's game over. Now the heat's on Diddy's legal team. How are they gonna spin this? Are they gonna say she's bitter? Jealous? Got an axe to grind? Doesn't matter. The damage is already done. Discrediting Dawn won't be easy. Not when her claims echo what others have bravely shared. Her words aren't just statements, they're puzzle pieces clicking into place. One voice can be dismissed, but when multiple people step up with stories that match, that's when the walls start shaking. Aubrey O'Day lit the fuse with her mysterious tweet and bold appearance in court. But Dawn, she's the one dragging the spotlight deep into the shadows, pulling back the curtain on what really went down inside Diddy's empire. This is no longer just a trial, it's a reckoning. Together, these testimonies are forming a storm that can't be ignored. The picture they're painting? Too detailed, too real, and way too dark to just sweep under the rug. So now the question is, how much impact will Dawn Richard's words really have? If her claims hold under pressure, it could deal a massive blow to Diddy's whole defense. With every new voice, the pressure's building. It feels like we're inching closer and closer to the real story behind the empire. What was really happening behind those closed doors. These aren't just allegations. They're bold moves from people who decided they weren't gonna stay silent anymore. Standing up to a giant like Diddy, that takes serious courage. But the way this trial is unfolding, it's looking like those voices might finally crack the system open. Dawn Richards' testimony especially, it's ripping the curtain down. She says working under Diddy wasn't just toxic, it was hell. Her lawsuit lays out non-stop 36 to 48-hour shifts. No food, no sleep, no rest. Just grind till you break. And this wasn't a one-time thing. According to her, this was the norm. Imagine going through that over and over again, all while being mentally torn down by the one holding the power. This wasn't chaotic leadership. It was exploitation turned into routine. And now that reality is becoming the foundation of the case, and she's not the only one saying it, more voices are chiming in, and if they keep coming, this trial might not just reveal the truth, it might redefine it. Dawn Richards' claims aren't isolated. They echo the disturbing testimony of another key figure, victim number 4, a former personal assistant who also exposed the brutal grind behind Diddy's empire. Their stories line up too well. We're talking stripped of basic needs, no rest, no food, no respect, just non-stop pressure and a constant fear of retaliation. Together, their testimonies paint a grim picture of life inside Diddy's inner circle. Forget luxury or privilege. Being close to him meant being broken down. The long hours weren't just exhausting, they were soul-crushing. And Richard didn't just talk about time clocks, she talked about mental warfare. Diddy's alleged treatment wasn't just harsh, it was humiliating. He didn't just overwork people, he crushed their spirit. That's what makes this even more sinister. It wasn't chaos, it was calculated. A system of control that ran deep, keeping everyone in line and scared to speak up. The verbal abuse, that wasn't random. According to Dawn, it was strategy, a way to constantly remind people who ran the show. He allegedly made sure nobody forgot where the power was. And that kind of manipulation, it gets inside your head. It traps people without chains, just fear. Rashad's experience shows that this wasn't just about labor. It was about full-on psychological domination. She's pulling back the curtain on a culture where silence was survival, and rebellion came with consequences. And now, one crucial piece from her lawsuit is linking all of this directly to the bigger racketeering conspiracy. This ain't just a workplace nightmare. It's a system built on control. These forced labor allegations aren't just random complaints. They point to a system of exploitation. Dawn Richards' claims connect directly to the same toxic patterns Cassie Ventura described, where both physical and psychological abuse were treated like part of the job. And let's be clear, this ain't just about long hours. It's about being broken down mentally and emotionally until saying no wasn't even an option. Dawn's story adds another layer to a growing mountain of claims that suggest Diddy didn't just run a label. He allegedly ran a machine fueled by fear, silence, and control. What makes it worse? This wasn't seen as unusual in his world. According to multiple insiders, this was the norm. People were expected to work through exhaustion, accept verbal beatdowns, and never complain, like it was just part of being in his circle. That's the real horror, how normalized it all became. Richard's testimony shows how the lines between business and abuse got blurred until there were no lines left. The constant manipulation, the non-stop demands, the emotional wear down, it wasn't chaos, it was routine. And now, her words are helping paint a full picture of how this empire may have operated behind closed doors. This is the kind of detail that gives the jury a real look at how power was used and abused. The only question left? How far will her story echo beyond the courtroom? And who else is ready to back it up? For years, Diddy's world was surrounded by silence, sealed lips, NDAs, and straight-up intimidation. People stayed quiet, not just out of fear, but because his influence was that powerful. But now, Dawn Richard has shattered that silence, and what she's revealing could give others the courage to finally speak out too. Her testimony isn't just shaking the courtroom, it's shaking the culture. This ain't just about one man's alleged abuse, it's about the system that let it happen, the machinery behind the fame. If both the jury and the public are paying attention, these claims could spark a ripple effect way beyond this case, because as the details pile up, it's clear. This trial ain't just about forced labor or a couple lawsuits. It's about exposing what's been lurking in plain sight for decades. It's about smashing the shiny image and finally giving a voice to the people who were trapped in the shadows. Dawn's decision to speak out sets a new precedent. And now, everyone's asking, who's next? How many more are out there, silenced by fear or contracts? Who might finally step forward? This case is gaining serious momentum, and every new voice adds fuel to a fire that's already burning hot. Aubrey O'Day and Don Richard aren't just testifying. They're pulling back the curtain on what Diddy allegedly spent years keeping hidden. And the fallout? It could be massive. Their words are rewriting the narrative, and this might only be the beginning of something even bigger. For years, the whispers surrounded Diddy like smoke, but now, two of the most credible insiders from his own camp are stepping out of the shadows and ready to speak their truth. The real question is, what secrets are they about to drop, and how far will they shake the empire he's built? Let's start with Aubrey O'Day. Back when Danity Kane was under Diddy's thumb, she wasn't just an artist. She was right there, witnessing how the whole operation ran. That chapter may have been closed for the public, but for Aubrey, it's clearly still burning. Her cryptic tweet said it all. "You are standing at the edge of the season that will demand your truth in full voice." That wasn't just random poetry. That was a declaration. Fans immediately picked up on the vibe. She's done staying silent, and if she's finally ready to open up about what she endured or saw, Diddy might not be ready for what's coming. Because let's be honest, Aubrey saw everything from the inside. She knows the real story, and if those years of silence are over, he's got every reason to be nervous. Now enter Don Richard. Her testimony already lit the courtroom on fire. She described conditions that weren't just harsh, they were inhuman. Non-stop work, no breaks, no sleep, constant fear. This wasn't just tough leadership, it was a system of intimidation, and she lived it firsthand. But it ain't just the forced labor claims that are tearing into Diddy's polished image, it's the control. Dawn. Richard didn't just describe long hours. She exposed a full-blown system, one where loyalty was demanded like a debt, and speaking out was basically forbidden. According to her, this wasn't chaos, it was calculated control. And that's the scariest part. Environments like that don't just happen, they're built. So now people are asking, what else did Diddy work overtime to keep hidden? For years, his entire power seemed to rest on one thing: silencing people. Critics say he didn't just pressure collaborators, he allegedly shut them down. Former employees, artists, even close friends, many of them either vanished quietly or signed NDAs that locked their stories away forever. But once those cracks started showing, it got harder to keep the truth buried. Whether it was manipulation, intimidation, or just raw fear, the message stayed the same. Speak up and pay the price. And while this ain't the first time Diddy's been accused of this kind of control, this time feels different. Why? Because now, people like Aubrey O'Day and Don Richard aren't just whispering, they're going public. They're calling out the system Diddy allegedly used to protect himself and keep everyone else in check. And that control he once held so tightly, it's slipping, fast. These testimonies aren't just poking holes in Diddy's image, they're threatening to rip it to shreds. What Aubrey O'Day and Don Richard are doing could dismantle the entire persona Diddy's spent decades carefully crafting. This isn't about a few bad moments. It's about exposing the core of how his empire allegedly operated. And now, media outlets are buzzing with one big question. What else are they holding back? Could they have witnessed things no one's ever spoken about? Incidents that tie directly into the racketeering and forced labor charges, or even something that backs up Cassie Ventura's chilling allegations of trafficking and abuse. Whatever they know, it's got the courtroom on edge. The suspense is building, and every time they speak, the stakes rise higher. It's becoming crystal clear. This case is way bigger than anyone expected. With high-profile insiders like Aubrey and Don stepping forward, it's impossible not to ask, who's next? Their courage is setting off alarms through Diddy's entire circle, because their boldness sends one message loud and clear: now's the time to speak. Could their words bring more witnesses? More charges? We don't know yet, but that possibility is very real. One thing we do know, the legend of the mogul, the mentor, the untouchable icon, it's falling apart right in front of us. And the more they reveal, the stronger the demand for justice becomes. The truth is closing in, and Diddy's empire, it might never recover. What we're witnessing right now is a full-blown reckoning, and the industry's watching every second. Time will reveal the full truth, but one thing's already clear: the silence is over. The voices they tried to bury are rising louder than ever. And now, they can't be ignored, erased, or dismissed. What once hid behind contracts and fear is finally out in the open, and there's no turning back. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest tea. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.